Have you ever felt like you're living a pre-programmed life? That you repeat the same loops, the same mistakes, the same patterns, as if you were a character in a video game, following a script you cannot escape? That feeling is not an illusion. It is the first sign of your awakening. You are beginning to see the limits of the program. But the deepest revelation, the secret guarded by the sages and now revealed by quantum physics, is this. You are not the character. You are not even the player. You are the programmer. Your reality, with all its apparent limitations and immutable rules, is nothing more than a holographic projection of your inner source code, your beliefs, your emotions, and your state of being. You have been running on autopilot, a program you did not write. This audiobook is the manual they never gave you. It is the guide to accessing the terminal of your own consciousness. It won't teach you how to play the game better. It will teach you how to rewrite the rules. Throughout the following chapters, you will learn how to decompile the old programs of fear and scarcity that you inherited. You will learn the programming language of the universe, which is not logic but vibration. And we will give you the protocol to compile and execute a new and magnificent reality. Chapter 1. The Ghost in the Machine, the Habit Program. Let's begin our journey into the depths of the mind's machinery with a question that may shake the foundations of your identity. How many of the decisions you have made today have truly been yours? You believe you consciously chose what to have for breakfast. You believe you chose the route you took to work. You believe you chose how to answer that email, how to react to your partner's comment, or why you took your phone out of your pocket in that precise instant of boredom. You believe that your conscious self, that voice in your head that analyzes, deliberates, and makes decisions, is the one in command of the complex mechanism that is your life. This is the first and greatest of illusions. Modern neuroscience, in its exploration of the architecture of the mind, reveals an astonishing and humbling truth. Approximately 95% of what you do, think, and feel every day is not the result of a conscious choice, but the execution of an automatic program, a habit. For 95% of your day, the programmer is not at the terminal. The machine runs itself, following a complex script of programs that were written long ago, mostly by others. That script, that autopilot that operates from the shadows of your subconscious, is the ghost in the machine. The ghost is your brain's efficiency expert. Its job is to automate everything it can to conserve energy. Conscious thought, decision-making, and learning are incredibly metabolically expensive. A habit, on the other hand, is a masterpiece of energy efficiency. It's a behavior that has been practiced so many times that the brain has created a neural superhighway for it, a low-consumption shortcut that can execute without barely expending the precious, limited energy of your conscious mind. The automaton is a perfect survival function. But here lies the danger, the hidden trap. This autopilot does not care about morality, happiness, or your highest purposes. Its only directive is efficiency, and it will execute with the same implacable perfection both the program of meditating every morning upon waking and the program of eating junk food every time you feel sad. It simply obeys the script that has been reinforced most frequently and with the greatest neurochemical reward. The life you have now is, to a large extent, the imprint on the physical world of the scripts that your ghost has been running, day after day for years. To hack this system, to go from being the character in the video game to being the programmer, you must first understand its programming language. The automaton operates through a simple three-step loop, a script that is etched into the depths of your brain. The if declaration, the Q. Every habit script begins with a conditional statement. If X happens, then do Y. The Q is the if, the trigger that tells the brain to enter automatic mode and execute a specific program. The Q can be almost anything. A time, 3 p.m., a place, entering the kitchen, an emotional state, feeling stressed or bored, the presence of other people, or a preceding action, finishing dinner. The then declaration, the routine. The routine is the subroutine that is executed. The then. It is the behavior itself that has become automatic. It is crucial to understand that the routine is not just physical. It can be physical: eating, smoking, checking the phone; mental, cognitive, falling into a loop of worry; self-criticism or obsessive planning; emotional, reacting with anger to criticism; feeling like a victim; feeling social anxiety. The end loop command, the reward. The reward is the final command of the loop. It is the outcome that satisfies your brain and tells it with a neurochemical signal. This script was successful. It solved the problem. Save it, reinforce it, and run it again the next time the if condition is met. This reward is often a hit of dopamine, which solidifies the neural connection and makes the habit increasingly automatic. Your life is a complex network of hundreds of these scripts, running in silence, dictating the vast majority of your actions and outcomes. And now you're going to learn to read them. If 95% of your life is automatic, what hope is there for change? Here is where your power begins. Because the moment the automaton becomes conscious, it ceases to be your master and becomes your potential servant. The light of your consciousness is the tool, the debug mode that allows you to enter the code matrix, observe it without being controlled by it, and finally, rewrite it. The first practice, activating the observer, entering debug mode. To debug a computer program, the programmer must first activate debug mode. Your first practice is precisely that, activating the observant consciousness. Imagine that a part of your consciousness, your conscious 5%, separates from the machine. It becomes the programmer observing the lines of code executing in the terminal, instead of being the character inside the video game controlled by that code. You do not judge the code. Judgment is an emotional reaction, part of the program. You do not try to change it yet. You simply observe with a detached professional curiosity. This act of observation creates a space, a millimeter pause, between the cue and the routine. And in that space, for the first time, the possibility of choice is born. The second practice, the code audit journal, the forensic analysis, the programmer documents. The detective gathers evidence. You become a forensic detective of your own code. Your journal is your terminal. Your case is to identify the complete loop of a script you wish to change. Choose a single bug, a routine that keeps you stuck. For 1 week, your sole mission is to investigate this script. Identify the routine, then be specific. I open the browser and spend an hour watching purposeless videos. Hunt the cue, the if condition. Every time you find yourself executing that routine, you become a forensic expert. You write down the variables of the if condition. Time, location, emotional state, e.g. boredom, mental overwhelm, and preceding action. After a few days, you will see an astonishing pattern. The procrastination script always activates when I face a large, overwhelming task in the afternoon. You have found the signal. Experiment with the reward, the end loop craving. You must understand the deep craving the script is trying to satisfy. The routine, watching videos, is not the craving. It is only the strategy. To discover the true reward, you experiment. When the cue appears, instead of executing the old routine, you insert a new one, e.g., get up and walk for 5 minutes, chat with a colleague, do 10 push-ups, and observe if it satisfies the craving. If chatting with a colleague dissipates the urge, you have discovered that the true reward is distraction and social connection to relieve the feeling of overwhelm. The third practice, the golden rule. Refactoring, rewriting the then. Once you have identified the complete loop, cue, routine, and reward, the habit ceases to be a mysterious force and becomes a formula you can rewrite. You must replace the old routine with a new one. The golden rule of habit change is, keep the same cue, deliver the same reward, but insert a new routine. Based on your research, you write a new line of code, a patch for your system. Cue. If I feel overwhelmed by a large task in the afternoon, new routine, then I will get up and chat with a colleague for 5 minutes, or watch a single 5-minute funny video, or do 10 push-ups. Reward. To get a dose of distraction and relief from the overwhelm. At first, executing the new routine will require conscious effort, but by keeping the same cue and satisfying the same reward, you're giving your automaton a path of least resistance to learn the new program. With each successful repetition, the new neural superhighway strengthens, and the old one begins to become overgrown from lack of use. Chapter 2. The Inherited Code, Childhood and Ancestral Programming. We must now descend one level deeper into our expedition. We must enter the archives of the original installation. We must understand how the source code of your system was written, often without your permission and without your knowledge. We must explore the power and persistence of the inherited code. Imagine that at birth, your mind is like a new state-of-the-art computer. The hardware, your brain, is perfect, a piece of biological technology with an almost infinite processing capacity, with a neuroplasticity that allows it to learn and adapt to any environment. But the hard drive is essentially empty. It has no operating system. During your first 7 years of life, your brain, in its evolutionary genius, enters an accelerated installation mode. It operates predominantly in a theta wave state. This is not a state of logical thinking or critical analysis. It is a mode of hypnotic recording. Your conscious and critical mind, the firewall of your system, has not yet fully developed. You are an open hard drive recording, unfiltered, everything your environment presents to you as truth. You are not learning about the world in this stage in the conventional sense. You are downloading the world. You are installing the operating system that will define how you interact with reality for the rest of your life. And who are the primary programmers during this sacred and vulnerable installation? It was not you. The programmers of the inherited code, your base operating system, the kernel of your being, was written by two main sources, your family system and your cultural matrix. The family system, the lead developers. Your parents or caregivers were the lead developers of your code, not because they had malicious intent to program you, but because you, in your hypnotic state and in your desperate need for love and survival, absorbed their own operating system as if it were yours. You didn't learn from what they said. You learned from what they were, what they felt. The financial code. If you grew up in a home where there was constant worry about money, where phrases like "money doesn't grow on trees," "we can't afford it," or "rich people are bad" were repeated, you didn't learn about economics. You downloaded the scarcity software. The belief money is hard, it is a source of pain and it is limited became a fundamental line of code in your program. And today your automaton continues to run that code, perhaps sabotaging your opportunities or creating inexplicable stress every time you receive a sum of money. The relational code. If you observed your parents in a relationship of constant conflict, emotional distance, criticism, or codependence, you installed that model as the love software. No matter how many romantic comedies you've seen since, the root program you learned was that loving is fighting, intimacy is dangerous, or to be loved, I must sacrifice my needs and disappear. And your automaton, faithful to this program, will magnetically guide you toward people and situations that allow it to execute this familiar code. The self-worth code, the words, looks and behavior of your parents toward you became the lines of code that defined your self-worth. If you were constantly criticized or compared, you installed the program "I am not enough" or "there is always something wrong with me." They did not do it out of malice. They simply passed on the code that they themselves had inherited from their own parents. You are the last link in a long chain of unconscious code transmissions. The cultural matrix, the open source libraries. In addition to your family's specific software, you also downloaded the code libraries of your culture, the collective beliefs about success, beauty, religion, politics, gender, what is normal and what is not. These shared programs are like water to a fish. They are installed so subtly that we rarely question them. They form the invisible walls of your perception. You believe your professional ambitions or your definition of a good life are yours, but for the most part, they are programs downloaded from the cultural cloud you were born into. The allegory of the inherited computer. Imagine that today, in the 21st century, you inherit a computer from your grandparents. It's an incredibly powerful machine inside quantum hardware. But it comes with an operating system from 30 years ago, say, Windows 95. Your conscious mind tries to install the most modern applications, unlimitedabundance.x, conscioushealthylove.app. You try to install them with enthusiasm, but the old operating system doesn't recognize them. It gives you error messages, file incompatible, insufficient memory for this concept. The system crashes. Or at best, it runs the new application with desperate slowness, sabotaged by the viruses and background programs of the old system. Frustrated, you hit the table and think the problem is the hardware. Something is fundamentally wrong with me. or that the new applications are a scam, manifestation doesn't work. But the problem was never the hardware. Your capacity is infinite, and the problem was never the new applications. The problem is that you are trying to run 21st century software on a 20th century operating system. Your adult life is that struggle. Your conscious 5% tries to install new, wonderful programs of freedom and expansion, but your subconscious 95%, your automaton, continues to run the old, obsolete and limiting inherited code from your childhood. The dissonance between the two is the source of almost all your frustration, procrastination, and feeling of being stuck. The malicious code, trauma and loyalty. The inherited code doesn't just install slowly through repetition. Sometimes a virus is injected into the system in a single instant of high vulnerability. The trauma virus, the emergency patch, a trauma. An abuse or a series of small constant emotional wounds acts as a malicious code injection. It's a moment of pain, fear or shame so intense that the brain in its survival mode writes a new powerful line of code directly into your operating system, skipping all protocols. The code of trauma always takes the form of a survival rule. If, situation remotely similar to the original wound, then execute panic, flight, freeze, pleasing program. A child ridiculed in class for an incorrect answer can have this virus injected. If I'm in a visible situation and can be judged, then execute subroutine panic exa, mental block exa, absolute silence exa. Years later, that adult will have unexplained panic and will self-sabotage opportunities to speak, to obey the old protective virus script, the loyalty Trojan, the loving saboteur. Perhaps the most subtle code is the Trojan. In the psyche, the loyalty Trojan disguises itself as love and belonging, but its hidden function is to sabotage your expansion to keep you safe within the limits of your tribe. To secure our place in the family tribe, we often make a silent vow of loyalty to the struggles and limitations of our family. If your family always struggled with money, your loyalty can manifest as an invisible upper limit. Every time you get close to great financial success, the Trojan activates, executing a self-sabotage script, a bad investment, an impulsive purchase, to return you to the safe and familiar level of the tribe. Subconsciously, earning much more than your parents can feel like an act of betrayal. The inherited code has been exposed. You have seen not only the obsolete operating system that was installed in you, but also the viruses and Trojans that have been running in the background. The first step to liberation is not to change the code, but to identify it in your own system. The first diagnostic exploration, the code tracker. The programmer does not trust his memory. He documents. You become a code tracker, tracing the trail backward. Your practice is to execute your first diagnostic scan. You take your journal, your programmer's terminal. You choose a recurring bug in your life, a pattern that causes you suffering, and you become a code tracker, following the trail backward. Identify the bug, be specific. I constantly attract partners who don't value me. Trace the programmers, the family code. Ask yourself, what was the relational code in my home? What did I observe in my parents' relationship? What did they teach me verbally or non-verbally about love and my own worth? Write the answers. Search for viruses, the trauma code. Ask yourself, was there a specific emotionally charged event in my childhood or adolescence related to love? A first painful heartbreak? A moment of rejection or humiliation? Search for Trojans, the loyalty code. Ask yourself, am I being loyal to a family pattern? Does repeating this relational pattern make me feel in a strange way close to my mother or father? Would having a happy, healthy relationship feel like a betrayal of their history of suffering? This is not an exercise to blame your past. It is an act of enlightenment. It is the moment the programmer, at last, looks at the old code and understands why the system has been failing. Chapter 3. The Error Log, the World as a Mirror. Now, with this new knowledge, we must learn to diagnose the failures of this old program in real time. How do we know which lines of code are corrupt? How do we identify the bugs that are causing the recurring errors in the program of our lives? The answer is at the same time simple and radical. You don't need to search the depths of your subconscious with a flashlight. You don't need years of therapy to excavate every memory. You only need to look around you. Because the universe is sending you a constant, precise, and real-time diagnostic report. Welcome to the perfect feedback system. Welcome to the error log, the physics of the mirror. The universe's feedback, not adversary. The untrained mind, the novice programmer, sees its problems as external attacks, as system failures that are outside its control. The economy is affecting me, and that's why I don't have money. My partner is making me unhappy with their behavior. I have bad luck with my health. It's my genetics. In this paradigm, you are a victim. You are the helpless user of a program that constantly fails, and you spend your life blaming the hardware, the world, other programs, people, or a cosmic failure, chance. This is the mentality of powerlessness. The master programmer, the reality engineer, knows the truth. External attacks do not exist. Only feedback exists. Your external world, your circumstances, your relationships, your health status, your bank account, is a perfect mirror of your inner code. It is not a poetic metaphor. It is a law of the physics of consciousness, the law of resonance. Like attracts like. Your vibrational state, which is the direct product of your subconscious source code, can only attract, allow, and manifest circumstances that resonate with that same frequency. The universe does not judge you. It does not punish you. It simply, like the most obedient and literal computer, executes your program perfectly and shows you the result on the screen of your life. Therefore, every problem, every challenge, every unwanted circumstance in your life is not a punishment. It is an error message, a 404 error in the system. And as every good programmer knows, an error message is not a failure. It is a gift. It is an invaluable clue that tells you, with absolute precision, exactly which line of your internal code needs to be debugged. The allegory of the two painters. Imagine a frustrated painter, let's call him Elias. Every day, he sits before his canvas with the intention of painting a bright, luminous blue sky. He prepares his pigments, mixes the purest blue. But every time he applies the brush to the canvas, the color turns gray, murky, lifeless. He blames the canvas, which must be defective. He blames the paint quality, which must be cheap. He blames the room light, which must be inadequate. He struggles, he strains, he gets frustrated. He cleans the canvas and he starts over. But every attempt produces the same disappointing gray result. One day, a master painter observes him in silence for a while, and instead of looking at the canvas, the master looks at the glass of water Elias is using to clean his brushes between colors. The water is dirty, gray, contaminated with the remnants of the dark, earthy colors of previous paintings. The master approaches and says softly, "The problem is not in your canvas or in your paint. It is in your water." Every time Elias dips his brush into the dirty water to take the pure blue, he is unconsciously contaminating the color before it reaches the canvas. The canvas is simply reflecting perfectly the impurity of its source. Your consciousness is that glass of water. Your inherited code, your old beliefs of scarcity, your unresolved fears, your unhealed wounds, is the dirt that contaminates your water. Your intention is the pure blue color, and your life is the canvas. The novice programmer spends his life trying to fix the canvas, fighting the circumstances. The master understands that the only work that matters is to clean the water. The anatomy of an error. Message: how the universe speaks to you. The universe's error log is sophisticated. It doesn't send you just one type of message. It uses multiple channels to ensure you receive the information about the bugs in your system. Recurring patterns. This is the most obvious error message. It is the same problem appearing over and over in your life, but with different faces. The same type of authoritarian boss at every job. The same type of emotionally unavailable partner in every relationship. The same cycle of earning money and losing it that repeats every year. This is not bad luck. It is a bug in a loop, a faulty script running over and over again. Intense emotional triggers. Sometimes the error message is the disproportion of your emotional reaction. A casual comment from a colleague unleashes an inner fury that lasts for hours. A small criticism plunges you into a spiral of shame for days. The intensity of your reaction is the error message. It is telling you that the external event is not the real cause. It has simply activated a virus, an unhealed trauma wound that lies latent in your system. Physical symptoms. Your body is the most intimate mirror. Chronic back pain, persistent migraines, digestive problems. These are often the error logs of your emotional state and your beliefs. They are the way your system communicates to you that you are running a program of stress, repressed anger, or fear that is creating biochemical dissonance, obstacles and closed doors. Sometimes the error message is a lack of progress. You strive, you work hard, but you encounter constant obstacles. Things don't flow, doors close. This is often an error message indicating that the action you are taking, however effortful, is not aligned with your soul's code. You are trying to run a program that is incompatible with your true operating system. The practice of reverse engineering. The debugger protocol. The master programmer does not try to fix the error on the screen, the effect. He knows that is useless and temporary. He uses a technique called reverse engineering. He takes the unwanted output, the problem in your life, and traces it backwards step by step through the emotion, through the memory, to find the exact line of source code, the belief, that is generating it. Your practice is that of radical self-inquiry, and your journal is your terminal. Isolate the error. Choose a recurring 404 error in your life. Be brutally specific. Don't say, my relationships are bad. Say, I constantly attract partners who are emotionally distant. 2. Formulate the master question. Instead of complaining about the error, you ask yourself the debugger's question. If this error in my life is the perfect and logical result of a program that is running, what is the line of code, the belief that program is running? 3. Listen in silence. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. And launch this question into the silence of your being. Do not try to think the answer. Listen, pay attention to the first phrase, the first idea that emerges from your depths. No matter how illogical or painful it seems, validate with emotion. You will know you have found the correct line of code because it will have an emotional charge. You will feel a resonance, a pang of recognition, an uncomfortable sensation of, oh, that's it. The body does not lie. Case studies in soul debugging. Let's see this protocol in action with the examples we have identified. Example 1. The financial. Bug, error log. I am always in debt. Every time I get extra money, an unexpected expense appears and takes it away. I can never get ahead. Reverse engineering. You ask the question, what would I have to believe for this pattern to be perfect? The answer that emerges may be, I would have to believe that money is hard to get, or rich people are bad, and I to be a good person must be poor. By identifying this code, the pattern suddenly stops being bad luck and becomes the perfect execution of a self-sabotaging program designed to keep you safe or loyal. Example 2. The relational bug. Error. Log. I constantly attract people who criticize me or don't value me. The relationship starts well, but in the end, I always feel belittled. Reverse engineering, you ask the question. The answer emerges, I would have to believe that I am not worthy of unconditional love. I have to earn it. Your external reality, the mirror of your relationships, is simply validating your own code of self-worth. The other people are not the villains. They are the actors hired by your subconscious to play the script that you yourself have written. Example 3. The energy bug. Error. Log. I am always exhausted. I have no energy for my projects. I live in a state of chronic fatigue despite sleeping enough. Reverse engineering, you ask the question. The answer emerges as a familiar whisper. Life is an exhausting struggle, or I must push myself to the limit to be valuable and deserve rest. Your fatigue is not a primary physical problem. It is the inevitable result of an operating system that is consuming all your RAM energy running background programs of struggle and hypervigilance 24 hours a day. This is the power of diagnosis. Clarity is the first step to healing. By completing this reverse engineering process, you have achieved the most important victory. You have stopped being the frustrated user who suffers the system errors. You have become the programmer who has located the bug. The error log has fulfilled its function. The mirror has shown you exactly where the stain is on your face. You have stopped blaming the messenger and have read the message. You no longer fear problems. You see them for what they are. Allies, guides, the most precise and personalized diagnostic system in the universe. designed to show you exactly where your next level of freedom resides. Chapter 4. The Language of Reality. Vibration is the syntax. A belief is a sustained frequency, the fundamental note of your instrument. An emotion is the expression of that frequency in the orchestra of your body. A circumstance in your life is the echo, the material reflection of that frequency in the auditorium of the world. Your dominant emotional state, therefore, is not a simple reaction to your day. It is the line of code, the syntax, the command you are transmitting to the computer of the universe in this very instant. And the universe, which is a perfect, impersonal, and absolutely obedient resonance machine, cannot help but execute that code and return a reality that vibrates at the same frequency. The vibrational scale. The command library. We can imagine the different emotional states not only as a climate, but as a command library in the universal programming language. Each emotion is a command that runs a specific script in the matrix of your reality. Low frequencies, junk code or spaghetti code. Emotions like shame, guilt, fear, apathy, and anger are low vibration commands. They are chaotic, incoherent, error-filled code. When you transmit these commands from your being, it's like introducing a virus or poorly written code into your own system. The result is 404 errors in your reality: conflict in relationships, financial scarcity, health failures, stagnation, and frustration. The fear command, for example, automatically runs the subroutines attract-threats.exe and reject-opportunities.exe. High frequencies, clean and elegant code. Emotions like gratitude, love, joy, and peace are high-vibration commands. They are clean, optimized, elegant, and coherent code. When you transmit these commands, the system runs with perfect fluidity and grace. The result is harmony, abundance, health, synchronicity, and expansion. The gratitude command, for example, automatically runs the subroutines activate receptivity.exe and attract resources.exe. The novice programmer, the one who lives on the surface of the conscious 5%, focuses on words, on the logic of his affirmation, on semantics. He believes that if the words are correct, the program should work. The master programmer, the reality engineer, focuses on the syntax, on the purity of the frequency he is emitting through his feeling. He knows that the universe does not understand the semantics of his words. It only understands and obeys the syntax of his vibration, the allegory of the two programmers. Imagine two programmers sitting side by side, both with the same task: to create a new, beautiful program, a simulation of a prosperous, creative, and harmonious world. The first programmer, let's call him Logic, is a genius of the mind. He writes thousands of lines of code in a perfect human language. He describes with exquisite eloquence, with impeccable logic, every detail of the world he wants to create. His affirmations are perfect. His goals are clear. But while he works, he is in a state of stress and anxiety. He pounds the keyboard with frustration, fearing he won't meet the deadline, doubting his own abilities, angry at system errors. His inner state is a low-frequency chaos. At the end of the day, he tries to compile his code, but the computer, the universe's terminal, returns error after error, syntax error, command not recognized. The computer does not understand his beautiful, logical words. It only feels the chaotic energy, the corrupt syntax of his frustration and doubt. The second programmer, let's call him Alchemist, sits in front of his terminal, which is blank. He doesn't write a single line of verbal code. Instead, he closes his eyes. He takes several deep breaths, and inwardly, he deliberately enters the feeling of the already completed simulation. He feels the joy of seeing it run perfectly. He feels the peace of a job well done. He feels gratitude for his magnificent creation. He generates from his own being a wave of pure, coherent, and harmonious frequency. He sustains that feeling, that perfect syntax, for several minutes, radiating it toward the terminal. The computer receives this frequency. It recognizes it as a perfect command, as clean, elegant code. And on the screen, without a single line of verbal code, the simulation of the prosperous, creative, and harmonious world begins to render perfectly. The first practice, the vibrational audit, the frequency monitor. The programmer cannot debug code he doesn't see. His first practice is the frequency audit, the act of running a real-time system monitor, Several times a day you pause. You become a seismograph of your own inner landscape. And instead of asking yourself, what am I thinking? And you ask yourself the vibrational programmer's question. What am I feeling? What frequency am I emitting to the universe right now? It is not a superficial question. It is an immersion. Bring your attention to your body. Is it contracting or expanding? Heavy or light? Tense or relaxed? Name, then, based on these sensations, you name the emotion. I am running the frustration script. I am compiling the anxiety program. I am broadcasting on the calm frequency. Locate the sensation. Where does this program live in my body? In the tension of my jaw? In the knot in my stomach? This simple act of naming and locating de-identifies you from the emotion. You stop being the program and become the programmer who observes it. And in that space of observation, your power to change it is born. The second practice, the art of emotional compilation, the alchemist's compiler. The programmer knows that for a command to be executed, it must be compiled into a language the machine understands. Compilation in our workshop is the act of uniting the intention, the semantic code, with the energy, the feeling syntax. His practice is emotional compilation. Choose your intention, the code. You have a clear idea of the new reality you want to program. It is your blueprint. I am the embodiment of sovereign abundance. Generate the frequency, the syntax. You must generate the correct syntax, the frequency that will make that code readable for the universe. Change your physiology. Prepare the hardware. Stand tall. Open your chest. Breathe deeply through your heart. Use emotional memory. Evoke a memory of genuine gratitude, triumph, or unconditional love. Revive that memory sensorially until you feel that frequency being born and expanding in your chest, in every cell of your being. The fusion, the compilation, then the alchemical act. You unite the frequency with the intention. You hold the clear image of your wish fulfilled while bathing in the elevated emotion you have generated. You visualize your intention as a crystalline structure, a geometric code, and you visualize your emotion as a golden light flowing from your heart and impregnating that structure, making it vibrate, activating it. In that moment, you have just compiled your program. You have written a perfect line of code in the language that the universe understands and obeys. The third practice, executing the program, embodying the result. Once compiled, the programmer executes the program run. In consciousness, this is not an act of doing, but of being. You do it by living in the frequency of the already executed code. His practice is to embody the result. You don't wait for the program to execute on the screen of your life to feel success. You feel success so that the program can execute. Throughout your day, you pause for 30 to 60 seconds. You close your eyes, and you simply recall and regenerate the feeling of your already manifested desire, the relief, the gratitude, the peace, the joy. This feeling is the run command that keeps the program active on the universe's server. It is the constant declaration that the new reality is not a possible future, but a present that is unfolding. Every time you embody this feeling, you are pinging the quantum field, reminding it of your new IP address, your new vibrational identity. The language of reality has been revealed to you. You have learned that it is not spoken with the tongue but with the heart. Vibration is the syntax, and feeling is your keyboard. Chapter 5. The Sacred Terminal. Silence is the access. We must talk about the power of silence. And to do so, we must first confront the fact that our culture suffers from a profound phobia of silence. We have equated it with boredom, inactivity, loneliness, and nothingness, and we are so afraid of that apparent void that we have built a world designed to eradicate every last remnant of stillness. We fill every interstitial moment with the noise of notifications, music, podcasts, news, and above all, the incessant, exhausting noise of our own inner dialogue. This noise is not innocent. It is not a mere side effect of modern life. It is the most effective malware there is to keep you trapped in your current programming. Constant noise, both external and internal, keeps your conscious mind, your 5%, perpetually busy, functioning at a superficial, reactive level. It's like trying to work on a computer whose screen is completely blocked by dozens of pop-up ads and error notifications. You can't see the desktop. You can't access the system files. You can't open a new program. You are stuck clicking close, reacting to the pop-ups, unable to perform any real creative work. The practice of silence, what we commonly call meditation, is not doing nothing. It is the most important act of systems engineering you can perform. It is the act of closing all the windows. It is running the malware cleaner. It is the process of stopping the non-essential programs to, at last, free up system resources and be able to access the programming interface of your own mind. It is the act of rebooting your mind in safe mode. When you reboot a computer in this mode, only the essential processes and drivers of the operating system are loaded. The environment is clean, minimalist, free of software conflicts, and it is from this mode that the programmer can diagnose problems, eliminate viruses, and access the system's core without interference. Meditation is your safe mode. It is the silence that gives you, for the first time, a clear view of the operating system. It gives you super user access, the anatomy of noise, the ego as a background program. To understand the power of silence, we must first understand the nature of noise. The most persistent, most seductive, and most exhausting noise is not from the external world, but from your own mind. That constant monologue, that narrator who comments, judges, worries, plans, and remembers, is the default program of your ego. The ego, as we saw in our journey through the 7 levels, is the mask, the identity built from your inherited code. Its main function is to maintain the illusion that you are a separate, vulnerable, and limited self, bound by your history. And its main tool for doing so is mental noise. As long as it keeps you completely identified with the flow of your thoughts, it will keep you trapped on the surface, in the role of the character. As long as you are lost in the story, you cannot remember that you are the author. The ghost in the machine stays in power by generating constant noise that prevents you from realizing that it is only a program. The void is the antidote to noise. Silence is the ego's poison. In stillness, in the pause between 2 thoughts, the narrator disappears. And in that disappearance, in that flash of pure silence, you have the opportunity to remember that you are not the voice in your head. You are the consciousness that is aware of that voice. You are the programmer who observes the code. And in that recognition, all your power is returned to you, the fertile void, the blank canvas of creation. Silence, therefore, is not an absence. It is not nothingness. It is the presence of pure potentiality. It is the blank canvas on which any new reality can be painted. It is the terminal with the cursor blinking, awaiting a new command. As long as your mind is filled with the noise of old programs, I can't, it's difficult, what if I fail? I need to worry about this. There is no space to write a new line of code. The canvas is dirty, covered by the scribbles of the past. Any new intention you try to paint on it will mix with the old clutter and become murky and illegible. Silence is the act of cleaning the canvas. You create a fertile void, and it is only in this void, in this receptive stillness, that a new intention, a new belief, a new vibrational command can be written with the clarity, focus, and potency necessary for the system to accept and execute it without errors. Silence is not the end of creation. It is its prerequisite. The first practice, the daily system reboot, meditation. The fundamental practice for accessing the terminal consistently and deeply is the daily system reboot, commonly known as meditation. This is not a passive act. It is the most important programming session of your day. The terminal access protocol, 15 to 20 minutes daily. The access password, the breathe command. Your breath is the password, the Ctrl+Alt+Delete of the mind. It is the command that interrupts the loop of compulsive thought and returns you to the present moment. To start your access, simply sit in silence with your back straight, close your eyes, and execute the breathe command. Bring all your attention to the sensation of your breath entering and leaving your body. This act anchors your consciousness in the present. The task manager, the observe command. Once you are anchored in the breath, you open the task manager of your consciousness. And from there you observe the programs running in the background, consuming your system resources. Worry.exe, planning.exe, self-criticism.delele. You do not fight them. You simply observe with the neutrality of an engineer. End task, the return command. For each program you observe, you do not try to force close it. Instead, with each exhale, you gently select it and click End Task, withdrawing your attention from it and returning it with a gentle firmness to the breath. Your mind will get distracted 100 times, and 100 times you will practice the act of noticing and returning. Every return is an act of power. You are training your attention muscle, the defragmentation, consistency. Consistent meditation practice is like running a defragmentation program on your hard drive. It organizes your mental space, eliminates junk files, and creates larger blocks of free space, of silence, of fertile void. Over time, the background noise decreases, and access to the terminal becomes almost instantaneous. The second practice, the command line inputs, the micro-silences. In addition to the complete daily reboot, the expert programmer uses micro-silences throughout his day to quickly access the terminal and execute fast commands. These are the interstitial moments of the day, the small gaps that we usually fill automatically with the junk food of distraction, mainly the phone, the wait in the elevator, the coffee line, the red light. Instead of running distraction.x by default, you open a command line for 10 or 15 seconds, the ground command. Take a single conscious breath and bring all your attention to the sensation of your feet on the ground. The sense command. Choose one sense. For 10 seconds, simply listen to all the sounds around you without labeling them, or just observe a color exploring all its nuances. The heart command. Put a hand on your heart, breathe into it, and evoke a quick feeling of gratitude. This simple command, lasting just a few seconds, is incredibly powerful. It interrupts the autopilot, pulls you out of the trance of noise, and reminds you for an instant that you are the programmer, not the program. Hundreds of these silence deposits throughout the day create immense wealth of presence and power. The third practice, the offline mode, immersion in nature. Finally, for the deepest system cleansing, for large-scale defragmentation and virus elimination, the programmer completely disconnects from the network. Spending time in nature, a walk in a forest, sitting by the sea, watching the clouds in a park without devices, without podcasts, is the act of putting your system in offline mode. The silence of nature is the ultimate firewall. Calm your nervous system, the natural frequencies, the fractal patterns of plants, the sound of wind and water. Recalibrate your nervous system, taking it out of fight or flight mode, beta, and into rest and creation mode, alpha. Silence the ego's chatter. The immensity and beauty of nature have a natural, humbling effect on the ego. The inner narrator, confronted with something as vast and timeless as a mountain or an ocean, tends to fall silent, deep access. In this state of calm and silence, your access to the sacred terminal is easier, deeper, and clearer than in any other environment. It is the perfect place to ask your most important questions and to receive downloads from the superconsciousness. Chapter 6. The Divine Function, Desire is a Command. Most spiritual traditions, in a superficial and often fearful interpretation, have taught us to distrust desire. They have painted it as the voice of the ego, as the root of all attachment, as the inexhaustible source of our suffering. We are told that to achieve enlightenment, peace or happiness, we must eradicate desire, transcend it, and become indifferent to the fruits of the world. But this is a half-truth, a dangerous misinterpretation that has led us to a life of suppression, of apathy disguised as spirituality, and of sterile stillness. It is the doctrine of the castration of the soul. The knowledge of the source code reveals an inverted and much more powerful truth. An authentic desire, a longing that springs from the depths of your being, is not a selfish whim you should annihilate. It is a divine function. In programming, a function is a block of code designed to perform a specific task. It is an instruction. An authentic desire is a function call from the universe, which has chosen you as the processor to execute it. It is the universe itself whispering into the ear of your soul, "I want to create this. I want to experience this facet of beauty, love, innovation, and I have chosen you, with your unique set of talents and perspectives, as the perfect channel to do it." Your longing is not a sign of your lack. It is a premonition of your capacity. It is the voice of your destiny, calling you home, the architecture of the command. Ego desire versus soul desire. To be able to write a clean, powerful command, you must first learn to differentiate between a bug and a function. You must become a master of discernment, capable of differentiating between the noisy, reactive desire of the ego and the serene longing of the soul. Ego desire, the bug of lack. This is the desire that philosophies condemn, and rightly so. It is born from the programming of fear and the illusion of separation. Its energetic signature is lack. Its mantra is, I want X so that I can at last feel whole, safe, validated, loved. It is an attempt to fill an inner void with something external, born of comparison. It is a reactive, non-original desire. It is ignited by seeing what others have, do, or are. You see the neighbor's car, a colleague's success on social media, a friend's happy relationship, and your ego, from its feeling of being less than, declares, I want that too. It is not a longing for expression. It is a longing for imitation, seeks to fill a void. It believes that an object, a person, or an external status can repair an internal wound. But because the void is internal, no amount of external acquisition can fill it. Once you get what you want, the relief is temporary, and the ego's hunger simply transfers to a new object. Its energy is anxiety. It feels like a need, an urgency, a feverish pursuit. There is a tension at its core, a fear of not getting it. It is the energy of not having. This desire is a bug in your code. It is an infinite loop that keeps you in the state of not having. When you tell the universe, I want this desperately, the universe does not hear the this. It hears the frequency of desperation, the vibration of lack. And like a perfect mirror, it gives you back a perfect reflection of that same lack, more reasons to feel desperation and lack. Soul desire, the function of expansion. This desire is of a completely different nature. It is born not of lack but of wholeness. It does not seek to obtain, it seeks to express. It is the voice of your original source code, of your unique purpose, that longs to manifest and experience the world through you. Born of inspiration, it is not a calculated thought. It is a download, an idea, a vision, a curiosity that electrifies you and seems to arrive out of nowhere in a moment of stillness. It feels original, yours, like a song only you can sing. Seeks expression, it is the artist's longing to paint, the musicians to compose, the healers to heal, the entrepreneurs to build something new. The joy is not in the final outcome, but in the very act of creation. Its energy is joy. It feels like a magnetic pull, like a serene excitement, like a feeling of coming home. There is no anxiety, no rush. There is a confident patience, the certainty that its manifestation is inevitable. It is the energy of the flower unfolding to the sun. The initiate in the art of listening learns to differentiate these two voices. He observes with a detached compassion the hungry whims of his ego, and he honors with sacred devotion the expansive longings of his soul. The first practice, the art of distillation, finding the root function. A clean command is an essential command. Most of us confuse the vehicle with the destination. We think we want the luxury car, when in reality we long for the feeling of freedom we believe it will give us. We think we want the perfect relationship, when in reality we long for the feeling of being seen and accepted unconditionally. Your first practice is desire distillation. You take your journal, and you choose a soul desire that you long for, one that feels expansive and joyful, and you begin to apply the why function to it, like a programmer debugging a long line of code to find its true, unique function. Declare the surface desire, I want to win the lottery and receive 10 million euros. Apply the WHY. Function, why do I want 10 million euros? To have financial freedom and never worry about money again. Why do I want financial freedom? What is freedom really for me? It's the ability to do what I want when I want. It's the feeling of expansion. And why do I long for that feeling of expansion and non-worry? Because I believe it will give me a deep sense of peace. Eureka! The essence, the true desire, was not a piece of paper with numbers. It was a state of being, peace and freedom. The create command you must write into your system is not create lottery ticket. It is create peace and freedom. By focusing on the essence, on the state of being, you give the universe infinite freedom to deliver it to you. By focusing on the essential what, you completely release the how, The second practice, the K, formulation of the decree, the I am syntax. Once you have distilled your desire to its vibrational essence, you must write it in the language that the operating system of the universe understands. Not the language of petition, but the language of declaration. The I am syntax. A decree is not a request. A request is born of lack. A decree is a declaration of a truth that already exists on the plane of consciousness. It is an act of embodiment. The novice programmer's command is request peace. The master programmer's command is be peace. It is a declaration of state. It translates into I am peace. Your practice is to take your distilled desire and formulate it as an I am decree, a declaration of your divine identity. Instead of longing for financial peace, you declare, I am the embodiment of financial peace and freedom. Instead of searching for love, you declare, I am the vibration of unconditional love and harmonious connection. Instead of fighting for health, you declare, I am the healing intelligence and radiant vitality of my body. Write this decree. Feel it. It is the new master line of code you're going to install. The third practice, the code review, the conflict debugger. Finally, before compiling and executing your new magnificent program, a good programmer always reviews all the code for conflicts. You must ask yourself the debugger's question. Is there any other line of code in my system, an inherited subconscious belief, that directly conflicts with this new command? You may be trying to run the function I am abundance, but if in your inherited code you have a loyalty Trojan that says if money, family limit, then self-sabotage or true, your system will enter an irresolvable conflict. The new program will crash or become corrupted. This is the moment to use the audit and decompilation tools you already know. Present your decree to your subconscious. In a meditative state, declare your new I am, listen for objections, and then listen. Pay attention to any thought of doubt, to any feeling of contraction in your body. These are the alarms that indicate the presence of conflicting code. Debug the old code. When an objection arises, but you don't deserve it, do not ignore it. Bring it into the light. Apply the Socratic interrogation you learned. Dismantle its logic, trace its origin, calculate its cost. Neutralize that contradictory code before proceeding. This is the master's work, ensuring the internal coherence of the entire system before executing the new program. Chapter 7. Compiling the program. Inspired action. A code, no matter how perfect, remains only potential as long as it stays in the text editor of your mind. It is an unbuilt blueprint. For it to become a tangible reality in the world, for the simulation to render on the screen of your life, it must be compiled. And the compile command in the universe's programming is action. But here lies one of the most crucial and most liberating distinctions on the path of the conscious creator. Because not all action is equal. A fundamental world-apart difference exists between the action born of the ego's panic and the action born of the soul's serene wisdom. We must explore the art of compiling the program, not with force, but with grace. The anatomy of compilation, forced action versus inspired action 1. Forced action, the ego's script. This is the action that the cult of effort of our culture has taught us. It is the action born of the belief that I am separate from the universe and therefore I have to make things happen. Its energy is one of struggle, control, and brute force. It is the novice programmer who, without understanding the high-level language, tries to write a complex program directly in machine code, an arduous, inefficient, and error-prone process. Forced action has an unmistakable signature. It feels heavy. It is the action that populates your list of I have to and I should. It feels like a burden, an obligation, something you have to push uphill. It drains your energy. It is born of the logic of fear. It is based on what your logical, frightened mind operating from past data believes is necessary and realistic to do to survive or to secure the outcome. It is the ego trying to control every variable of an infinite equation. It creates resistance. This energy of pushing, struggling, and controlling creates a counterforce in the universe. It is swimming against the current. For every step you take, the universe seems to push you back 2 steps. You feel like you are fighting the world. Inspired action, the soul's function. This is the action of the master programmer, the creator who has learned to co-create. It is not born of effort, but of flow. It is the embodiment of wu-wei, effortless action. Inspired action is not something you do to the world. It is something the universe does through you. It is an impulse that arises from the stillness of your aligned being. A hunch, a download from the superconsciousness that guides you to the next perfect and often unexpected step. Inspired action also has a clear signature. It feels light. It is a I want to, I feel like, a curiosity. It fills you with energy instead of draining it. You often lose track of time while performing it. It is a state of play. It is born of the wisdom of intuition. It often seems illogical to the ego. It does not follow the rigid, step-by-step linear plan you had drawn. It follows the trail of synchronicities, the soul's shortcuts. It dissolves resistance. It is sailing with the current. Doors open without you having to force them. The right people appear at the right time. It feels as if the universe is conspiring in your favor. Because it is. The allegory of the two navigators. Imagine two navigators, logic and alchemist, leaving the same port with the same destination. A distant, paradisiacal island representing their wish fulfilled. The first navigator, logic, is a master of forced action. He unfurls his map, draws a perfect straight line from his position to the island, and decides that this is the only possible route. He completely ignores the direction of the wind and the strength of the currents. My will is stronger, he declares. He spends the day rowing with Herculean strength against a headwind and a countercurrent. His muscles burn, sweat blinds his eyes. He is exhausted, frustrated, but proud of his effort. At the end of a brutal day of struggle, he has advanced barely a few meters, and his boat is damaged. The second navigator, alchemist, is a master of inspired action. He also knows his destination. He has it engraved in his heart. But before he starts rowing, he stays still in his boat. He doesn't look at the map. He looks at the sky. He feels the direction of the wind on his face. He observes the current, and instead of fighting the forces of nature, he decides to use them. He sees that the wind is blowing to the northeast, even though his island is to the east. His logical mind would scream that it's the wrong direction, but his intuition and his soul let go of the sail. The wind fills it and begins to carry the boat, with surprising speed and hardly any effort, in that seemingly wrong direction. He knows that this wind will take him to a more powerful current that will later turn and take him directly to his destination. He arrives at his destination in a fraction of the time, full of energy and having enjoyed the journey. The second practice, the somatic compass as a compiler, the body debugger. Not every impulse that arises in your mind is an inspired action. Many are simply the old scripts of the ego or the automaton disguised as a good idea. To know if an impulse is a genuine prompt from the soul or an error from the ego, the programmer runs a compilation test on his most reliable hardware, his body. Your practice is somatic consultation. You bring the idea of the action to your mind, and you feel it in your body. Inspired action compiles without errors. When you think of it, you feel an expansion, a lightness, an energetic yes in your body. A feeling of openness, joy, and this feels right. Forced action generates compilation errors. When you think of it, you feel a contraction, a heaviness, a knot in your stomach, tension, a visceral no. Your body is your debugger. It is the one that tells you, before you spend your energy, whether the code you are about to execute is clean and aligned, or if it is corrupt and will create resistance. The third practice, executing the first line of code, the dance of the golden threads. The universe rarely asks you to compile the entire program at once. That would be overwhelming. It asks you to compile and execute the next line of code, to take the next step in the dance. Your practice is the faith in the first step. Imagine a programmer, Ilara, who has written a new audacious code for a life full of purpose and creativity. She has done the inner work. She has defined her I am creativity and purpose, but she has no idea what to do in the external world for it to manifest. One day in her silent meditation, she receives a prompt. The inexplicable impulse, the curiosity to visit an old library in a part of the city she hasn't been to in years. Her logical mind, the ego script, immediately protests, "That's a waste of time. You should be updating your resume, sending proposals, doing something productive." But she has learned to trust. She consults her somatic compass. The idea of walking through the library feels light, expansive. It's a yes. She executes that first line of code. She goes to the library. Wandering the aisles without looking for anything in particular, another prompt, an impulse to go to the ancient poetry section. Again, it's illogical. Her project has nothing to do with poetry, but she follows the golden thread. She runs her fingers over the spines of the books, and one bound in worn blue leather catches her attention. She takes it out. Inside, on the first page, she finds a handwritten dedication, in strangely familiar calligraphy. Suddenly, a memory emerges. It was the favorite book of a literature professor from college who had encouraged her to write, who had told her she had a gift. She hadn't thought of him for 10 years. The universe has just given her the next line of code. That afternoon, she searches for her old professor online. She discovers that he now runs a small creative writing workshop in a cultural center. She feels an expansive yes in her chest, and she executes the next line. She writes him an email just to say hello, to thank him for his inspiration from years ago. The professor, delighted to hear from her, replies in less than an hour. And at the end of his email, he adds a line that makes Alara's heart stop. By the way, a colleague of mine at an art foundation is looking for someone with your exact profile for a very innovative and well-funded editorial project. The position hasn't even been made public yet. Would you be interested in me putting you in touch? The program has been compiled. The manifestation has occurred, not through a grand master plan, not through a Herculean struggle of sending resumes, but through a series of small, joyful and obedient steps, each one guided by the universe's prompt and validated by the body's compass. Your job is not to write all the action code. Your job is to stay in a state of receptivity, listen to the next line of code the universe dictates to you, and have the courage to execute it. Chapter 8. The Debugging Process. Doubt is a test. The untrained mind, the novice programmer, at this point panics. Its first and automatic conclusion is, it has failed. It believes the new code is corrupt, that the law doesn't work, or most painfully of all, that he is a bad programmer. And in his frustration and fear, he often clicks cancel, aborts the installation and runs the old miserable and familiar operating system he already knew. He returns to the prison because the path to freedom has presented its first challenge. But the master programmer, the reality engineer, knows the truth. A bug is not a failure. It is an essential and inevitable part of the process of creating any complex software. It is an invitation to deeper debugging, to a refinement of the code. Welcome to the most crucial stage of mastery. Welcome to the debugging process, the nature of the bug, the echo and the test. To learn to debug your reality, to learn to navigate the errors without losing your power, you must first understand why they appear. Even after installing a new and powerful program in your subconscious, there are two fundamental reasons, and neither of them is that you have failed. The echo of the old code, the mirror test. As we have learned, your external reality is a mirror of your inner code. But it is a mirror with a lag. The physical world, the world of matter, is a denser, slower vibration than the world of consciousness. Therefore, it takes a while to catch up, to update its reflection to match the new programming you have installed. What you are seeing right now with your 5 senses is, often, the echo of your old code. It is the system's cache memory. It is the shadow of the supertanker that continues to point north for a time, even though you have already turned the rudder forcefully toward the east. If you have installed the program I Am Abundance with deep conviction, but the next day you receive an unexpected bill, that event is not proof that your new code has failed. It is the echo, the last gasp, of the old scarcity program that is finishing its execution in the system. The universe is simply clearing the last consequences of your old vibration. The untrained mind sees this echo and confuses it with the present sound, losing faith. The master recognizes it for what it is, a harmless ghost, a fading shadow. Doubt as the system's confirmation test. And here we come to the most important and liberating revelation of this chapter. Doubt that you feel the obstacle that appears is not an enemy. It is not a flaw in your character, or a sign that you are on the wrong path. Doubt is a security function of your operating system. Your subconscious mind is incredibly loyal and above all incredibly protective. Its main directive for decades has been your survival. It has been running your old programs of limitation and fear, because at some point in your past, it believed that those programs were necessary to keep you safe. And when you, the programmer, try to install a new, unverified program, especially one as radical as I am infinite abundance or I am unconditional love, the system, as a precaution out of pure security logic, runs a test. The external obstacle or the internal feeling of doubt is a pop-up that appears on the screen of your consciousness. It is a dialog box that asks with absolute seriousness, "Warning, you are about to overwrite the root program limitedsurvival.exe with the new unverified program infiniteexpansion.exe. This action may be unstable and is irreversible. Are you sure you want to continue? Yes, no." The untrained mind sees this warning message, the doubt, the obstacle, and panics. It thinks, "Oh no, a warning, an error. The new program is faulty, it's dangerous." And scared, it instinctively clicks no. The system sighs in relief and runs the old, safe and familiar program of limitation again, protecting you from the unknown. The master programmer sees the same dialog box. But instead of panic, he feels a serene calm, even a slight smile. He recognizes the message not as an error, but as the confirmation test it is. It is a sign that the installation is reaching the core of the system. And with a firm, deliberate, and unshakable intention, he moves the cursor of his consciousness and clicks yes. Every time you face an obstacle, and, instead of giving up, you reaffirm your new truth. Every time you feel a wave of doubt and, instead of identifying with it, you return to the feeling of your wish fulfilled. You are clicking yes. You are telling your system, with sovereign authority, I confirm the order. I understand the risks. Proceed with the installation of the new program. I am in command. The first practice, the mental diet, the fortress of consciousness. To pass the test of the mirror, you must become the unshakable guardian of the doors of your mind. Your practice is that of a strict and sovereign mental diet. It is the art of refusing to entertain any thought, conversation, image, or feeling that originates from the old reflection and contradicts the new truth you have decreed. The 3D reality fast. You stop obsessively looking for proof and signs in the external world. That search is born of doubt and need, and only reinforces the vibration of I don't have it yet. Your faith does not need external proof. Faith is the proof, the counter-decree. When a thought of doubt or fear appears, you do not fight it. You recognize it with calm as an echo of the past, the ghost of your old self. And with a sovereign calm, you declare your counter-truth. Doubt whispers, it's not working. You respond, it is done. What I see now is just a fading shadow. My loyalty is with the new reality. Fear shouts, what if you fail again? You respond, a new effect is inevitable. The law is perfect. Conversation control. You refuse to participate in conversations of complaint, lack, or victimhood that reinforce the old reality. If someone asks about your problem, you speak from your new truth. You say, I am in a process of expanding my prosperity. You are being loyal to your future, not your past. The second practice, the art of ignoring the senses, persistence in the assumption. The conscious creator learns to live, for a time, in a double reality. He honors, manages, and acts in the physical world that his senses present to him, but his loyalty, his true residence, is in the reality of his wish fulfilled. Your practice is that of persistence in the assumption. You walk, talk, and make decisions as if your wish were already a physical fact. You do not act as a performance to deceive others, but as a declaration of loyalty to your own subconscious mind. If your new identity is I am abundance, even if your bank account shows the opposite, you stop making decisions from panic and lack. You start asking yourself, what decision would I make from a place of confidence and sufficiency? Each of these congruent acts is a vote of confidence. It is a clear message that tells your inner giant, the subconscious, the order is still on. The new direction is the right one. Keep turning the ship. The third practice, the anchor of gratitude, the antidote to doubt. To keep your vibration elevated and your faith intact during the time lag, you use the most powerful and heaviest anchor that exists, anticipatory gratitude. Fear and doubt cannot coexist with gratitude. Doubt is born from focusing on what is missing. Gratitude is born from focusing on what is already had. The gratitude reset. When a wave of doubt or impatience washes over you, stop, close your eyes, and perform a gratitude burst. For 60 seconds, list all the things you could be grateful for, starting with the simplest. This act short-circuits the negative spiral. Gratitude for the future harvest. Then make the quantum leap. Pause throughout your day to feel a deep, genuine gratitude for the manifestation that is already yours on the plane of consciousness. Thank you for the perfect health I am enjoying. Thank you for the abundance flowing in wonderful ways. This feeling of gratitude is the most potent signal you can send. It is the perfect and definitive antidote to the poison of doubt. Chapter 9. The Master Password. In every complex operating system, from the one that controls a spacecraft to the one that manages a global network, there is a level of restricted access, a root mode or super user level that allows fundamental changes to be made to the system's core, changes that are impossible for a normal user. To access this level, you need a special password, one that overrides all other permissions, security protocols, and existing programs. In the operating system of your consciousness, that master password, that root command that gives you direct access to the core of your being, are the two most potent words in the human language. I am. We have talked about affirmations, intentions, and decrees, but an I am declaration is in a completely different category. It is not an evolution of the other techniques. It is a quantum leap to a new level of causality. An affirmation is an attempt to convince the system of a new truth. My business is prosperous. It is a user trying to run a new program, often conflicting with the existing operating system. An I am decree is an act of informing the system of a truth that is already a fact at the level of identity. I am prosperity. It is the system administrator with the master password, introducing a new fundamental law directly into the core of the system. An affirmation tries to change what you have or what you do. An I am declaration changes who you are. And this is the fastest, most direct, and most radical form of reprogramming that exists. Because in the hierarchy of creation, identity is the cause of everything else. The consciousness, kernel, the identity code. To understand why this is so powerful, we must return to our computer allegory. Your subconscious mind is the operating system, but this system has layers, habits, emotions, even superficial beliefs are like the applications and configuration files running on the surface. But at the center of everything, protected by multiple layers of security, is the kernel, the core of the operating system. The kernel contains the most fundamental definitions about the nature of the system and how it works. And the most fundamental definition of your personal system is your sense of identity. Your belief about who you are is the kernel code. If your kernel code says, user, person who struggles and never has enough, it doesn't matter how many success or abundance applications you try to install on the surface. The kernel, whose main function is to maintain system integrity, will always find a way for your final experience to be one of struggle, because that is its main directive, its definition of you. The I am declaration is the only command that has right permission to the kernel. It is the super-user password. When you declare, with feeling and unshakable conviction, I am security, you are directly editing the user.config file of your being. And once the kernel has been updated with a new identity, the entire operating system, every application, every background process, is obligated to reconfigure itself to be coherent with the new directive. The allegory of the beggar king. Imagine an immensely powerful, wise and loved king who, to better understand his people, decides to disguise himself as a beggar and live among them for a year. He takes off his silk clothes, dresses in rags. He dirties his face with soot and adopts the hunched posture, the lowered gaze and the supplicating voice of a beggar. Quickly, his external reality transforms to reflect his new assumed identity. The people who once bowed before him now ignore or despise him. The palace guards who once protected him now chase him away. He has to beg for every piece of bread. He sleeps on cold, damp streets. His experience is in every way that of a beggar. His reality is a perfect mirror of the identity he has assumed. During this time, he could try to think positive. He could stand on a corner shivering from the cold and affirm, I am rich, I am the king. I have a palace. But his clothes, his posture, his energy, his entire state of being is declaring to the universe, I'm a beggar. And the world, as a faithful mirror, responds to the declaration of his being, not to the empty words of his mouth. The year passes. The king, having learned his lesson, tired of his experiment, decides to reclaim his throne. He walks toward the palace gates. The guards, seeing a dirty beggar, block his entrance with their spears. He could try to beg. He could argue. He could try to use logic to convince them. But instead he does something much simpler and much more powerful. He pauses, he closes his eyes, and inwardly he sheds the character of the beggar. He lets go of the posture, the story, the feeling of lack, and he remembers who he is. His back straightens. His gaze acquires a forgotten authority. His energy field shifts from a supplicating contraction to a sovereign expansion, and with a calm voice, but one that resonates with an absolute power that vibrates the air, he looks the captain of the guard in the eyes and declares, I am the king. In that instant, everything changes. He has not changed his clothes. He has not offered proof. He has changed his declaration of identity, and the captain, who does not recognize the face, but recognizes the unmistakable vibration of sovereignty, immediately kneels. The doors open, the kingdom responds. The first practice, the formulation of the command, the art of precision. A master password must be clean, precise, and unambiguous. A poorly written root command can corrupt the system. Before using I am, you must formulate your decree with the precision of an elite programmer. It must be positive and present. The command I am not poor still contains the vibration and the keyword poor, reinforcing what you don't want. The command must be affirmative and in the present tense. I am wealth. Focus on the state, not the object. This is a crucial refinement. Instead of declaring I am the owner of a luxury car, a much more powerful command is I am the embodiment of freedom, success, and prosperity. By focusing on the state of being, you align with the cause, not a single possible effect. Feel the resonance. Your I am decree must feel expansive in your body. Try different formulations until you find the one that makes you feel a surge of power and truth. I am serene strength. The second practice, the installation ritual, writing to the kernel. With your new I am decree formulated, the time comes for installation. This is the most sacred ritual of reprogramming. Access the terminal, the theta state. You enter the sacred terminal of silence, ideally just before sleeping. You completely relax your body. Introduce the pure password. Before adding your new identity, you first connect with the source. You begin by repeating softly, only the pure password, I am. You connect with the vast, silent, formless consciousness that exists behind those words. Add the attribute. Once you feel that presence, you add your chosen state to it. Feel how the infinite consciousness of the I am takes the shape of your new identity. I am peace. I am absolute confidence. Embody the feeling. You allow the feeling of that deep calm and unshakable serenity to flood your body. The word is the container. The feeling is the divine substance that fills it. Fall asleep in the identity. You continue repeating and above all feeling your new identity as a lullaby until you fall asleep. You are handing the subconscious its single most important task for the next 8 hours, to reconfigure the entire system to align with this new fundamental truth about who you are. The third practice, walking as the I am, running the new operating system. The nightly ritual is the installation. Your daytime life is the execution of the new program. Your practice during the day is one of loyalty to your new identity, the persistence in the assumption. The external world, which is the echo of your old code, will present tests. It will show you a reflection of your old beggar identity. When an unexpected bill arrives that challenges your I am wealth, you do not fall into doubt. You simply remember, and you declare inwardly, with the sovereign calm of a king who sees a commoner shaking his fists. That is the old story. It is an echo. I am no longer that. I am your new identity. To anchor this practice, you can create a throne anchor. Choose a subtle physical gesture like pressing your thumb gently against your index finger or touching your heart. Every time you perform your installation ritual, do this gesture. Then, during the day, whenever you feel pulled by the old identity, simply perform your anchor. It is a quick command that tells your system, reboot, return to the throne, remember who you are. The master password has been revealed to you. The final secret of the Codex is that there is no secret. There is only one power, one consciousness, one creator in the entire universe, one I am. And you are that. Chapter 10. Executing the Program, Living in Wholeness. Throughout this journey, you have learned a series of practices and techniques, auditing, revising, reprogramming, calibrating. These tools have been the scaffolding, the necessary support structure to demolish the old prison of your limited identity and build in its place the skyscraper of your new consciousness. They are essential in the construction phase. But the goal of all scaffolding is not to remain forever. It is to be removed once the building is solid, once the structure can stand on its own, majestic and free. The state of mastery, that of living in wholeness, arrives the moment you stop practicing the principles and you become them. The techniques dissolve, not because you abandon them, but because you have absorbed them. You have practiced them with such devotion and consistency that they have migrated from your conscious mind to your subconscious. They have become automatic. They have become your new operating system. You no longer need to try to feel gratitude every night. Your default state is gratitude, and you see the world through its lenses. You no longer need to practice nightly visualization to install a belief. Your mind, through habit, already lives in the reality of your highest vision. You no longer need to remember your I am identity as a decree. You have become the feeling and the certainty of that identity. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. At first, you need training wheels, the techniques. You need to consciously think about balance, pedals, handlebars. It is an act of effort and concentration. But a moment comes when the program is installed in your subconscious. You stop trying to ride the bicycle. You simply get on and you are a cyclist. Knowledge has passed from your conscious mind to the wisdom of your body. Living in wholeness is living as the expert cyclist who moves through the world with a grace and ease that no longer require conscious thought. It is the end of effort. It is the beginning of grace. The philosophy of the master program, from programmer to program. The final identity shift is subtle but absolute. You stop being the programmer who, from outside the system, observes the code and tries to modify it, and you become the master program that executes perfectly. The duality between the self that wants to change and the system that needs to be changed dissolves. You have become unified. You are no longer the person who tries to be abundant. You have become the living program of abundance. And when your fundamental identity, the kernel of your system, is abundance, the operating system, your subconscious, is obligated by its very nature to automatically execute subroutines that are coherent with that master program. Your habits, level 1, align effortlessly. Your memories, level 2, are automatically reinterpreted through the lens of abundance. Your emotions, level 3, vibrate by default at the frequency of abundance. There is no more internal conflict. The 5% and 95% of your mind are at last running the same code. And the result is a life of flow, synchronicity, and effortless creation. The qualities of the running program, the crown jewels. A life lived from this state of mastery, from the execution of the program of wholeness, has 3 unmistakable qualities. They are the jewels that adorn the crown of the sovereign who has reclaimed his inner kingdom. 1. Unconditional peace, the eye of the hurricane. The first and most fundamental of the jewels is a deep peace that does not depend on circumstances. It is the unshakable calm that remains in the eye of the hurricane while the winds of the world's chaos blow around you. This peace is born of the absolute certainty that you are the source, not the effect. Having integrated the law of the mirror on a cellular level, you no longer see external events as attacks, but as simple feedback. An unwanted outcome is no longer a tragedy. It is an error message that you read with calm, knowing you have the power to debug the code that caused it. By not resisting reality, by not giving the external world the power to disturb your inner state, your peace becomes unconditional. 2. Playful creation, the divine game. The second jewel is the transformation of creation from work to a game. Manifestation ceases to be a serious project to fill a void or prove your worth. You have realized that you are already whole. Your happiness is not in the destination, but in your current state of being. So why create? You create for the pure joy of expression, for the thrill of watching ideas take shape. This detachment from the outcome, this energy of play, is the most magnetic vibration there is. By not needing the outcome, you eliminate all resistance, and manifestation occurs with astonishing speed and grace. 3. Magnetic grace, the universe's conspiracy. The third jewel is the experience of living in a state of constant flow. The external world seems to conspire in your favor. The right opportunities, the perfect people, the perfect solutions come to you with an almost magical ease, often right when you need them. The world calls this luck. You know it is simply the perfect compilation of your inner code. Your electromagnetic field, now stable and coherent, has become a magnetic vortex. You do not chase synchronicities. You live in the center of their network. The first practice. The dissolution of technique, the scaffolding falls. The master program, no longer clings to techniques. Why? Because he has practiced them with such devotion that they have become automatic, subconscious. They have dissolved into his way of being. Meditation is no longer a 20-minute exercise he does in the morning to find calm. His entire life has become a moving meditation. Calm is not something he seeks, it is the place from which he operates. Reprogramming is no longer a nightly ritual to install new beliefs. His inner dialogue, by default, has become a flow of thoughts of self-respect and possibility. Gratitude is no longer something he practices to raise his frequency. His heart, through the habit of coherence, naturally resides in the master frequency of appreciation. The conscious effort to tune in dissolves into a state of grace. You have stopped being the cyclist who thinks about balance. You have become the dance of balance itself. The second practice, the embodiment of the levels, the integrated system. Living in wholeness is executing simultaneously, harmoniously and automatically your new program through all levels of your being. They are no longer separate layers you must visit. They are the different facets of a unified diamond. You run level 1, the automaton. Your daily habits now reflect your new identity effortlessly. They are the loyal servants that keep your physical kingdom in perfect order. You run level 2, the library. The past is no longer a source of torment, but a database of wisdom extracted. You run level 3, the emotion. Your default emotional state is coherence, peace. You run level 4, the belief. Your root belief in your own power is the unquestionable operating system. You run level 5, the symbols. You see the world as a constant dialogue. Synchronicities are the normal and expected feedback of your alignment. You run level 6, the genius. You live in a state of an open channel. Inspiration and creative solutions are the normal flow of your day. And you live from level 7, the I am. This is your base, your anchor, your throne. You observe and direct the game of life from the perspective of pure consciousness. The journey of descent has ended. The expedition has been a success. You have reclaimed your inner continent and have sat on the throne that has always belonged to you. You are no longer an explorer of the 7 levels. You are the sovereign of the 7 realms. Our journey began with a brutal diagnosis. We were living in a state of attentional bankruptcy. We were millionaires of infinite power living as beggars, giving away our divine currency to the mind thieves, trapped in a state of poverty that manifested as fog, anxiety, and procrastination. But you decided to reclaim your fortune. Together, we entered the central bank of your mind. We learned to accumulate capital in the sacred terminal of silence. We forged a clear, precise investment order through the divine function of our desire, financed it with the multiplier of emotion, and built it upon the foundations of certainty. Finally, we became operators. We created a daily budget for our consciousness, learned to buy the reality of abundance and healing, overcame the debugging process, and reclaimed the master password of the I am, learning to execute the program of wholeness. You have completed the programmer's manual. You have moved from debt to solvency, and from solvency to boundless inner wealth. But the final revelation of this journey, the dividend of all your work, is that you have transcended the role of the investor. You no longer operate within the market, you are the market. The investor seeks opportunities. The magnate is the opportunity. The investor manages finite resources. The magnate lives from the infinite source. Your consciousness, once recovered, accumulated, and focused, is not just a currency to buy reality. It is the factory that prints the currency. Your journey as a student of this code has ended. Your life as a reality magnate begins now. Your practice is no longer about accumulating, but about circulating. Your question every morning is no longer, what do I invest in today to get something? But what value do I choose to create today from my infinite inner wealth? Because you know that your power is not measured by what you have, but by the magnificence of the program you choose to execute for the world. If this programmer's manual has awakened the magnate within you and returned control of your source code, we invite you to continue this exploration. Subscribe to our channel, Path of Knowledge, for more manuals on reality engineering. Like this video as a declaration of your new inner sovereignty. Share this knowledge with someone who is ready to stop being a user and become a programmer. Thank you for your time, your focus, and the brave decision to reclaim your true fortune. The market is yours.